So we have these beautiful women here
Yep.
are going to act like they're not into anime, but they are.
You'll fake. Yep.
Everything that makes a blurred.
I could have sworn I took you to BlurCon. Didn't I take you to BlurCon?
Yeah, you took me.
She enjoyed going to BlurCon. Like she enjoyed BlurCon. Like she was like BlurCon is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like she's been there. She's definitely done that in the past. She was like,
So Steph has actually been indoctrinated. Like she's actually been immersed.
I think once you walk through the hallway, you walk through the hall, you're already like indoctrinated. How does that go? you joined up, you know. You walk through the hallway.
You in there.
With you.
No.
You in
there. She loved it. She loved it.
But with that being said, though, how do you guys, as Black women, because I feel like Lovecraft Country, I feel like it had a lot to do with woman empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So as Black women, like, how did you guys feel about the show overall? Like, what were your big takeaways as women of color?
I guess the episode that spoke to me the most was the Hippolyta episode.
I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just her going through that self-discovery, and it just felt very empowering, especially when she went to the time period with Josephine Baker. You know, Josephine Baker was known for like she was very sexual, but she celebrated that part of it. And then to see that Hippolyta, the actress, you know, her body wasn't like the other dancers, but it was like she became comfortable in that sense. And then she just had this freedom where she was just exploring, you know, her sexuality, and she was even some drug use in it.
Oh yeah.
And,
a lot of drinks. I was like, these are some weird looking cigarettes.
And then I recall the part when she was like the warrior scene. I thought that was great. And then I don't know, it was just very empowering. And then I think for me, it was just that when she was talking about, you know, her relationship with George and how she felt like, you know, that kind of held her back in pursuing what she wanted to do. I think as women, girlfriends, wives, you kind of sometimes feel that way. So I just thought that part was really good. And I just like each of the female characters in the story because you got a sense of different characteristics from ones, even little D and how, you know, what she experienced in her episode. And then, you know, with Ruby, I felt like she was dealing with like self-identity issues. And then like Leti, she was very fierce, very strong.
Yeah.
So you kind of got a sense of people that you see, or friends or family members that those characteristics in each one. So I kind of related to each character in that sense. So
okay.
Yeah, one thing that I realized that I was in denial of, that I realized at the end of the season, was that Leti was the main character. And like she stole the show as the main character too. Like you thought it was Tick this whole time because so many elements surrounded Tick. But then as the story progressed, you realize, like, I was like, okay, so they're like a couple going through it. And then like by the end, I was like, yeah, like this show is Leti. Like this show is straight up about Leti for real. Like it's her having the kid and going on, like Tick is there and he's involved in the story heavily, but I realized that she was the main character in there.
Okay.
yeah.
There's a part where she even tells Tick that it's not about him, that it's about all of them together. But I agree with everything that you said, LaShawn, and I think even the important part, the naming and feeling like you have to shrink yourself.
Yeah.
It's so important. And then you couple that with D and the silence, right? And the being ignored as Black women.
Yeah.
And with our high rates, I forgot where I read it, but they were talking about in the way that police kill Black men is the way that the medical field kills Black women, right? Yeah. And like that people don't listen to us and our voices. And when we're talking, and it feels so visceral right now of like, I often tell my husband, of just like, I could literally like go into work and shout at the top of my lungs some craziness and no one would hear me. And if someone did, they'd be like, "Oh, just having a bad day. Oh, so
Wow.
adorable, you little Negro, you.
Look at you sharing your feelings.
Oh, you little sassy things. Just
Look at you.
We're gonna give you 15 minutes to let it out, and you got to go back to work now.
And just seeing all those emotions and feelings captured in a very real way, and in a way that it wasn't. I think oftentimes people think it's about breaking down and crying, and it's not. And it just, so there's so many reactions to it, but there's also the strength in it of like, how do you still find your voice when people try to take your voice from you, literally?
Yeah.
Definitely. And I thought that one thing that I thought that was really cool was the way that they integrated real events, like the traveling guide. And I really noticed it at first. Like when I went back and looked at it, it wasn't so much that Hippolyta's man was mean or anything, but you could kind of, when you go back and rewatch it, it was like, well, yeah, he was kind of doing it unintentionally. Like she was talking about going with them. He got bad knees, you know. He couldn't run through the whole show. Like for the first 3 shows, like my man, like they just talking about, like my man couldn't run like the whole time.
Yeah, like his knees.
Yeah.
And he's still like, baby, you shouldn't go. You know what I'm saying? Like he can't walk. You know what I'm saying? Like he can't do like basic things.
And I think that was just him. I think in a way, just being black in that time period, him trying to protect her and keep her away from, you know, the evil of the world, basically, he turned her into this kind of a housewife type of figure or homebody, where it's like, all right, I'm out on the road, you stay home, you take care of the kids, make sure the shop don't burn down, basically. And yeah, because of that, she doesn't have time to do whatever she wants, like, you know, follow her dream of dancing and singing and whatnot, because she's taking care of home while he's out, you know, basically in the wild. But then that makes me that makes me wonder too, like how would women back in the day get around that? Because that's how it was. Like that was the culture. You know what I mean?
I thought one thing that really stuck out to me was that also framed how Black women weren't listened to, was the subtle comics that came from Dee. Like if you notice that everything that she was drawing about was related to something that that the travelers would experience. And I thought that was such a weird circumstance that even after bringing it up, like I remember Tick was like, she still writes on the maps, you know, and you see the trolls on there, you see the monsters on there, you see Artem on there. And these are all things that you don't really notice and no one really says anything about. But it was one of those things of somebody saying something the whole time and no one really listening to her. Even when she's being chased by the curse, right?
Yeah.
And what's his name? Grabs her. And what's like he's grabbing her. He's like, "What's wrong, girl?" And she's like, "Yo, I'm being chased. Like, go with me." Like I got my corner right here. I got my bat. Like I'm ready. You messing stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Like just get off me. And if you would have listened to her, she would have never even lost her arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean,
she might have had a chance. She was getting around. She was doing okay for the most part of the day until someone like held her, like literally.
I mean, I think at that point too, though, that was the point where she just kind of was like, if they're gonna get me, they're gonna get me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was inevitable because even with her swinging the bat, I don't think she was doing much. I think they was gonna get her regardless. But I think that maybe him seeing what happened to her arm, you know, was the catalyst for everything else that happened after that. As far as them like taking her serious, like, you know, this magic is legit.
Yeah, like there's nothing I can do about it.